If you've ever mentally berated yourself after yelling, this episode is for you. Because I know that moment where your voice got louder than you wanted. You said something you swore you'd never say, and now your brain is replaying it like a courtroom. And here's what I need you to hear right up front. Your children don't need a perfect mother. They need you. Not your performance, not your perfection, not a version of you that never gets overwhelmed. They do need you to come back. Here's the quick flash. Noise, touch, demand, clutter, hunger, time pressure, sleep debt, all stacking up. And then I snap. And for me, it's not silence after. It's crying, it's screaming, it's pounding my hands on the ground. It's fear. And sometimes this part makes me want to sink right into the floor. Their little spirits shine right through their tears and they tell me objectively, Mommy, you got frustrated. Mommy, you got upset. Mommy, you yelling. Mommy, you need to be calm. Mommy, don't be frustrated. Sometimes they'll even apologize, and that pours gasoline on the guilt for me. So if you've ever had that moment where your child is crying and you're crying inside and you're thinking, I'm going to mess them up. I'm going to make this a pattern and they're going to come to expect this behavior from me. I made this episode for both you and I. Because you're not excusing the behavior, you are reducing the shame so we can reduce the repetition. Welcome back to Grounded and in Full Color. I'm Princess Ebony, a neurodivergent stay-at-home mom of 3, digital content creator, and your big sister in your headphones. Today, I'm giving you a simple repair framework you can remember even when you're fried. My real-life repair scripts, word for word. What I do when my children are scared or mad. How I include boundaries without becoming permissive. And how I repair with myself afterwards so I don't spiral and repeat it again tomorrow. Because gentle parenting, especially for neurodivergent mothers, is not ever yelling. Gentle is what happens next. Let's name the reality. A lot of neurodivergent moms aren't dysregulated because they're bad at parenting. We're dysregulated because our nervous systems are carrying sensory overload, sound, touch, visual clutter, executive dysfunction, too many steps, too many decisions, constant interruption, low focus, sleep debt, and the emotional labor of trying to be calm while our bodies are screaming. So yes, sometimes we snap. We just can't hold in the dam anymore. And snapping doesn't mean you're a monster. It means your nervous system exceeded its capacity. Now, I want to say this clearly. Accountability still matters. My husband is one to preach that from the rooftops and let me know. But repair still also matters. Boundaries still matter. But shame is not the tool. It's not the way to do it. Because here's what I want you to borrow. Shame doesn't make you gentler. Support makes you gentler. And the reason I'm so serious about this is because I know what it feels like to be afraid that this becomes the vibe. That they'll grow up expecting intensity, expecting drama, expecting rupture like we're Krakatoa. But the truth is, children don't just learn from rupture, they learn from repair. And when you repair consistently, you teach them. Our home is safe enough to make mistakes and safe enough to come back to ourselves and in our bodies. All right, story time, just a real quick, tight arc, real life. This was in a season where I was home alone with the children a lot. 1-bedroom apartment, – and often one vehicle my husband would take to work. So we weren't doing little reset trips. We weren't doing park days every day. You weren't doing the kind of outside time that makes everybody breathe easier. We were inside a lot. And the inputs were stacking. It was often after the mad rush of getting my husband off to work on time. Maybe I hadn't gotten to breakfast then, maybe not. But it was definitely before nap time. I had a running list of things that I wanted to get done from days or even weeks prior, and I just couldn't get enough time, guilt-free, for myself or anyone outside me to just get the work done. They weren't listening to me for the 17th time. They actually thought I was joking most of the time. I was catching myself over and over and over again, not to snap, clenching my teeth, rising that knot up in between my shoulders, wanting to pound the ground, shake my hands, and I was like flexing so hard that I was putting knots in my shoulders and my wrists. I still needed to get breakfast for them if I hadn't already. And if I was in the kitchen for 2 minutes, I would then need to go clean up something because they were just going to take too long for me to clean up the mess. Yes, I can sit with them, help guide and correct their behavior, and give them little tips on how to help clean up. But I didn't have the patience. I didn't want to spend it on that because it was going to take too long, and I needed things to be quiet, to be clean, to be clear, right then and there. And the children, above all else, were just being children. They were exercising their autonomy and their voice in a one-bedroom apartment with so many people in there, with so much stuff from each person that really mattered to each individual being, and a system and a routine and a flow that was actively confined by our physical living space. They were just advocating for their little selves, for their brains, for their nervous systems, their energy, much greater than my own. And with each birth, I felt like I'd actually given part of my energy that I was never going to give back to each and every one of them. And it was being splayed right back into my face. I was frustrated. And for me, it's usually the same tact within that little story arc. The noise in there, the touch, the clutter. I was hungry or they were hungry, the time pressure, the sleep debt. And one more thing that surprises me in those moments is I'll suddenly notice how out of shape I feel compared to 10 or 15 years ago. Not even about the weight mainly, but just mobility, the flexibility, the stamina. It's like my body reminds me, you've been recovering since you've become a mother. And you're doing a lot. And then I feel it. The moments where I'm about to say something I regret, even though it provided just a temporary little bit of relief of getting this energy up, out, and off of me. And sometimes I say it anyway. Sometimes I hear my own mouth say something word for word that I hated hearing from older family members, from adults, or from other authority figures in my life from the past. And the second I hear it come out of my mouth, I'm like, who is that? Why did that just come out of my mouth? And that's the rupture. Then comes the aftermath. My children are screaming and crying. I scared the living daylights out of them. They are screaming. And sometimes they tell me what I did. Mommy, you yelling. Mommy, you just got upset. Mommy, you so frustrated. Sometimes they even try to coach me. Mommy, be calm. Mommy, don't be frustrated. And sometimes they apologize. And that is just too much for my heart at times, if not every time. Because that's the choice point. I can spiral in shame or I can move into repair. And today I'm teaching you the repair loop that I use. Here's the framework. Write it down if you want. Save this episode, bookmark it. The 4-step repair loop. First, regulate yourself 10 to 90 seconds. 2, name what happened. Short and true. Thirdly, apologize without dumping. take responsibility without making it about you. Tricky, but doable. And 4, reconnect and reset the moment. Safety plus repair plus next steps. And I'm going to walk you through each. Step 1, that regulate first in the 10 to 90 seconds. Repair doesn't land if you're still activated. For me, one of the most effective things I've started doing is this. I generate counter pressure in the area where I feel the most tension. For me, it's in my shoulders. The heat, the buzziness, the tension down from my neck. So I'll clench my fists really hard or just apply pressure up through the palm, like the heel palm of my hands, just for a few seconds. And it sends this pressure up into my arms or otherwise into my body that counteracts the tension that I'm feeling coming top down into my body. It's like it balances and cancels out the energies. And I can feel my body come back online just enough to regulate my tone of voice, my emotions, and my next words. Now, other micro-regulation options for you can be your hands on your chest and your exhale is longer than your inhale. Go drink some water, step into another space for 30 seconds. Lower the lights, lower the sound, and otherwise reduce your inputs. Unclench your jaw, soft, smooth, relaxed face, and drop your shoulders. And here's the stepping away script I use. Instead of making it a big thing, I say, Mommy got frustrated, I apologize. I'm going to take a few deep breaths and I just need a few minutes. Short, true, no drama. Step 2, name what happened. Now this is where I often repeat what my children said because honestly, they're usually correct. Sometimes letting them speak it in third person can help, and I repeat it. Mama got frustrated. Mommy's yelling. Mommy got frustrated and overwhelmed. Mommy didn't take a deep breath. And you don't turn this into a TED Talk. You're simply teaching reality. Step 3, apologize without dumping. Now this matters. When you repair, you don't want your child to feel responsible for your emotions. That is just a big no-no. So you avoid the long explanations. You don't go into your childhood. You don't go into your stress. You don't go into a monologue about how hard your life is. Because they're small. They need safety, not context. Here's the key line I say a lot. It wasn't your fault, and you didn't do anything wrong. And then I apologize using the language that fits my values. I don't like to say I'm sorry in this moment. I prefer I apologize and often remind our children, which in then turn, when I slip up, they come back and remind me. It's a beautiful full circle. Because to me, I apologize is an action. It doesn't turn into an identity. It's not I am a sorry person. It's I am taking responsibility. So here's a core repair script you can borrow. I apologize, I yelled. It wasn't your fault and you didn't do anything wrong. Mommy is still learning to remember to take a deep breath. And then stop. And if you're like me, if you tended to over-explain, you might feel the urge to add a whole paragraph. But your child doesn't need the paragraph. They need you to come back to safety within your own body. Step 4, reconnect and reset the moment. This is where we move from rupture to safety. You can do eye contact at your child's eye level, a hug if they want, a grounding activity, or just moving to a different space than where the escalation happened. In our family, one of our resets is music. Sometimes I'll switch the environment and we'll do a quick reset moment with our family dancing playlist, or just something that just gets my feet stamping to expel that excess energy. Something that's cathartic and I feel like just belting from the rooftops. And my children immediately step into that energy and then that becomes the vibe. Mirroring our inner childs back and forth off of each other. Because movement helps, music helps, and a new space helps. And I love the question. Do you want a hug or do you want space? Because you're teaching bodily autonomy and connection. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes I really want the hug too. My inner child needs the hug. So I am practicing asking them because it does matter. All right, scripts, word for word. Script A, this is the core repair script, most important. Like I said, I apologize. I yelled. It wasn't your fault and you didn't do anything wrong. Mommy is learning to remember to take a deep breath. Script B, if your child is crying or scared, you are safe. I am here. My voice was loud, but you are not in trouble. I apologize. I'm here now. Script C, if your child is mad at you, it makes sense you're mad. I understand that you're upset. I'm listening. You didn't deserve that. We can take a minute and then we'll try again. Hear the next set of scripts. Redo language when everyone is calmer. Let's do a redo. We can try again. Now show me what you wanted to say. And the next set for gentle and firm boundary, not permissive. This matters because being loving doesn't mean you relinquish your role. According to Gabor Mate, parenting is a hierarchy, if I can say that correctly. Hierarchy. You are the parent and they are the child. So you can say, I apologize for yelling, and we're still going to insert boundary. I can be kind and still say no. We can be upset and you can have your space, and you still need to follow the rule. And I like using we here. We are going to reset, and we are still going to do the next right thing. So if you have multiple children, here's some inclusive we language. We are pausing. We are resetting. We're going into quiet voices right now, or quiet time. We can try again. Now let's talk about the part moms skip. Self-repair. Because if you don't repair with yourself, shame stays in your nervous system and you repeat the cycle. So here's the 3-step self-repair. 1, the truth. I was overloaded. 2, compassion. I'm not a monster. I am learning. And after so many children in, after so many years of parenting and marriage in, I am still a beginner, y'all. 3, support. What needs to change so this is less likely tomorrow? And here's the micro support question. Was this an environment issue, a systems issue, or a relationship issue? The story I mentioned earlier for me, it was all 3. Environment, too much sensory input. It wasn't like we had too much stuff, but in a 1-bedroom apartment, what little we have compared to others of the same family size, yeah, it definitely amounted to too much input. The system, too many decisions, no anchors. And the relationships, the needs of everyone, the boundaries that still need to be upheld, the communication, the repair. And that question turned shame into strategy. Now let's do a quick what not to say list. Avoid things like, look at what you made me do. You are not Taylor Swift and they are not Kanye West. Don't say you always and then insert. You know what I mean. Or I'm a terrible mom. Man, I've used that thinking that it was putting the weight on me, but it actually puts emotional weight on your child. Avoid a long explanation while you're still activated. Again, they need safety and connection, not context. No forced hugs or forced apologies from the child. That will never work, especially between siblings. If they need a little behavior guidance and correction, don't do it. Just don't do it. I can't remember the name of the authors, but the book Sibling Rivalry explains this and portrays this so clearly. And no matter how much your inner child wants it, do not force the hug on them. You can replace it with short truths, responsibility, safety, reconnection, and next steps. Short truth can be I yelled. Responsibility is I apologize. Safety is you are safe and you're not in any trouble. Reconnect. Ask them, hug or space. And the next steps. Let's do a redo. We can try again. That's the loop. Now let's recap the big truths here. Gentle parenting isn't never yelling. Gentle parenting is what happens next. Shame doesn't make you gentler. Support makes you gentler. Your children are learning safety not only from the rupture, but from the repair. If this episode felt like a mirror, here are 3 ways to stay connected. Follow the show so you never miss an episode and leave a review. Join the Glow Board Club for extra scripts, tools, and behind-the-scenes supports you can use immediately. And if you want real-time reflection, pattern naming, and nervous system support, my 1-week voice note support and reflection sanctuary is open. And I'll leave you with this. Your children don't need your perfection. They need you. They need you to come back to your body, most of all. So, I'll leave you with that, and I'll talk to you in the next episode, Mama.